We've got all our gear, and now here we are at Yellowstone National Park, ready to take photos of the wonderful and beautiful wildlife here. So now we're going to talk about our research, how to stay safe, and how to stay ethical with all our wildlife photography. I'm part of the International League of Conservation Photographers, so making sure that we have no impact on these magnificent animals we share this world with is something very near and dear to my heart. I'm really excited to dig into this even deeper and share with you some tips on how to stay safe and how to make sure we keep all the wildlife safe. One of the big things that I like doing is understanding the different animals I'm going to go out and photograph. So when I start with, say, Yellowstone National Park, I look at the wildlife that is in that park. Here at Yellowstone, there's been quite a bit going on with the wolf population, even though I'm not sure if we will see any wolves, but they're definitely high on my radar to try to find and photograph. And the other thing is the bison population that are getting blamed for bringing disease down to cattle, which there's no proven record of them actually bringing disease to cattle. So I really want to get some spectacular photos of these amazing bison that Yellowstone is known for. In order to take photos past that typical portrait, you want to incorporate story. One way to incorporate story is by doing research. So say I'm trying to photograph the birds or the elk in Yellowstone. Start researching how they interact with one another, where they like to hang out, and that's where doing as much as I can online to find facts about these different animals helps me bring that story into my images. If you can bring that behavior and that story into your image, you're going to have a more impactful image. So we're sitting here watching a bison feed, and it's really interesting watching the bison with its big shoulders move its head back and forth through the snow and get snow all over its face in order to get to the vegetation below. I was really curious as to why they had snow all over their face all the time, but that's one of the beautiful things about taking a moment even away from the camera and watching the behavior is you understand a little bit more about your subject. Even though sometimes I do start my journey with online resource, it's so important to take it past that. And that's one of the reasons why hiring somebody that works inside the park and inside with that specific wildlife will not only help you understand and find and track the subjects you're looking for, but it'll make sure that you respect and help you bring that extra story into your images. We went with our amazing guide with McNeil with Yellowstone Insight, who has been a park ranger here at Yellowstone for 9 years. He's worked in wolf conservation, and he's worked in the park overall for 21 years. So he's making sure that we keep our healthy distance, that we respect the wildlife, and he also knows so much about the biology of the animals and the biodiversity that's here at Yellowstone National Park. So finding local experts, finding local conservation groups, and teaming up with them can help you tell a bigger story. There are a lot of resources out there in order to figure out exactly how to ethically approach wildlife. One of my favorites for birds is the Audubon Society Ethical Bird Photography Guide, which you can find online, that has so many resources about how not to disturb wildlife. The thing about bison, you want to make sure you approach them in a way that you're not going to harm yourself or disturb them. And that's one of the reasons why having a guide that understands each species helps us so much, because I have somebody that's next to me that can let me know, hey, look at that behavior. Because I've learned through my research that even the direction of a bison's tail can indicate if they're threatened, if they're startled, or anything like that. So understanding that behavior can also help you keep yourself safe. So every animal has a different way of approach, and usually the park guides, if you go on the National Park website, you can figure out what animal you need to stay a little further away from than others. Like for instance, you want to give 100 yards to a wolf, but 25 yards to bison and elk. And those are things that are easy to research and figure out. When you get close to wildlife, in order not to disrupt them, make sure you don't make any sound to get their attention. Be as quiet as possible. Keep your voice as low as possible. You want to make sure that you don't make any calls, you don't throw any snow or dirt, you don't do anything to get them to look. We got to see a boreal owl during the day, which is a bit unusual because they are nocturnal. And while we tried to get a photo, its back was turned. We didn't do anything to draw its attention. Because this is such a rare sighting, it has attracted quite a few photographers. There's a lot of photographers all around here. It's important not to encircle the animal so that whatever people are photographing doesn't feel threatened or get trapped. It's always good to kind of stay with the group and stay closer to the road because the road is where the noise is coming from. So it's good to kind of keep on the roadside. We never ended up getting the shot, but it was such a gift to be able to see the owl. You want to make sure you don't do anything because we are going to miss shots. But I feel good in myself that there was no calls, there was no attempt to get that owl's attention that might have caused it stress just in order to get a photograph. So keep wildlife wild. We'll get that shot one day and we'll get it in an ethical way that feels good in our heart. When I'm about to go photograph wildlife, I have a couple of different methods I do to find that animal. I like to follow the hashtags on Instagram, like hashtag Yellowstone wolves or hashtag bison of Yellowstone, and it's great because I see so many images of other photographers. There's also resources to help you figure out where the wildlife is being seen, like eBird, or resources like iNaturalist or Seek that have all these places where people have spotted different animals, different birds, different wildlife, and that's a great resource as well. Aristotle said, in all things of nature, there's something of the marvelous. And here we are at Yellowstone, ready to photograph the wildlife. I've got my gear, I've got my guide, we've done our research, and now it's time to focus on art, composition, and creativity. You guys ready? Because I know I am.